Booktubing is hard. Hi, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm doing my September book haul, aka I spent way too much money on books this month. I got paid extra on Labor Day, and I might have went a little overboard. I counted, and I believe I have somewhere around like 23, 24 books, something like that, not counting any ebooks that I bought. So let's just get into it. I'm going to try to do a little description for all. Some are really common books that you do know anyways. Other ones, I'm going to give a little description. Some I don't know much about. It was the, oh, Book Outlet's having a sale. I need to fill my cart. So we're just going to add this one and this one. So anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so the first book I have is a very popular book on YouTube, and I've been wanting to read it for a while, and that's Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is a fantasy. I believe it's a young adult fantasy, but it might be adult. I'm not quite sure how it's marketed. I've just heard a lot of people talk about it. Spencer from Common Spence, this is like one of his favorite trilogy. This is a special anniversary edition or collector's edition, so I'm planning on hopefully reading this soon. I've heard the first book is kind of tough to get into, but once you do, you get hooked. So we'll see. I'm a mood reader. It's mood depending. Okay, and then next I got Carter and Lovecraft and After the End of the World by Jonathan L. Howard. This is book 1 and 2 of his series. This one I got on Book Outlet. This one I went and bought on Amazon because this is a book 2 and it sounded good, but I obviously need the book 1. This is about, it's a guy, Carter was a homicide detective, and he inherits a bookstore, and the owner of the bookstore is the descendant of H.P. Lovecraft, and so they kind of solve mysteries or something like that. Rude! Thunder! Cats. This is about a detective named Carter who's down on his luck, inherits a bookstore, and then the owner of the bookstore kind of comes with, and it's a female, and she's a descendant of H.P. Lovecraft. So I'm guessing it's going to be solving mysteries, mystery thriller-ish kind of. But the cover is so pretty, and the whole like science fiction-y kind of mystery thing appealed to me, so I figured I'd give it a shot because it just looked fun. So there's that one. Then I have Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. This was the book in my bookie box for the month of August. So this is about an all-female pirate gang. This is YA fantasy, but an all-female pirate gang who are going after the same like warlord or something like that. It's supposed to be full of tons of female empowerment, just girls kicking ass, and they're pirates. I mean, why not? And then the next one is Ohio by Stephen Markley. This book I won in a Goodreads giveaway. You do actually can win. I've won 3. It took me like 7 years to win anything, but this is a story about Ohio. Like four or five young adults, or you know, early 20s. They all knew each other in high school, and it's a lot about like how bad the Midwest got after 9/11 with drugs and no work. And there's, I think at the beginning of the book, they meet at one of their friends' funerals, and he was a vet and he had PTSD and he killed himself, I believe. But this is like a dark, I wouldn't call it a contemporary, but kind of like a really dark story that is probably going to hit all the feels. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but it's supposed to be decently good, and I won it in a giveaway, so I'll read it eventually. Maybe this fall, because in the fall I tend to like to read darker things. So we'll see, but there's that one. This one I got from Book Outlet because I saw Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads get it, and she read the first little bit and it sounded interesting. And that's Class Mom by Lori Gelman. This is about a mom who is going a second go-round. She has an older daughter that's like, or an older child that's older, and now she's got a younger kid who's just starting kindergarten, and she's not your typical PTA mom. She cusses, she swears, she, you know, thinks differently about things and isn't like the other moms. So that's kind of like me. Like, I go pick up my kids in my pajamas. I don't care. I really don't care. I very rarely wear makeup, yet again, because I don't care. So this kind of just seemed appealing to me, like kind of like a fun, like I said, I never read contemporaries. This is kind of a contemporary. We'll see. Like, it seemed like it was kind of fun, like, and something I could relate to. And then we have my 3 Book of the Month books for this month. First is Fashion Victim by Amina Akhtar. This has gotten some buzz a little bit. It's like the devil Wears Prada meets Heathers is what I've heard, which Heathers is one of my favorite movies. So this seemed something that was kind of interesting. It's not that big. It's rather small. The print is pretty big. So this is something like when I'm just in kind of like a fluff mood, I could get through it pretty quick. Then we have November Road by Lou Berney. This takes place in the 1960s after JFK is assassinated, and it's about, I think, what does it say? Like, he's an ex-cop? Oh, no, it's a lieutenant for a mob boss. And he gets into some trouble and gets out of it, and he gets with this woman and her child, and they go cross-country, like, on the run. So I really love stories that take place in the 60s. I just love that era. And so that's why this appealed to me, because it takes place in the 60s and kind of being on the run. I'm not really into mob stuff that much, but it just looked really good. I kind of love the cover. Cover's really cute. So we'll see. And then the third one is The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. I've heard mixed reviews about this one as well. This one was a book of the month a couple months ago, but it seemed interesting. It's about a woman who is in prison and for life. She was convicted for life, and about her experience in prison. So kind of Orange is the New Black, but real. I don't know, like, I've heard mixed things. Some people say it's really great, other people hate it. So I guess we'll see how I feel about it. Then I got from Book Outlet The English Wife by Lauren Willig. This is a, like, I think 17 or 1800s Tudor house in England. It doesn't say the year, but it's like 1800s England. And it's a murder mystery, historical fiction murder mystery. Like, somebody dies, there, you know, I don't really know all of it. I've just heard about it, I guess. This was a book of the month, book 2, that I never got. It was on cheap on Book Outlet, so I decided to get it. I don't know, historical fiction. I've been in a really historical fiction mood lately, so this one, since it was only like $5, I snapped it up. And then I got, next is Right Behind You by Lisa Gardner. This is a story of a young girl who is 13 and her brother is a serial killer. So she is rescued by, I think it's a detective and his partner, and they adopt her. And her brother's in jail, and then he escapes, and I guess he's chasing her. Something along those lines, if I remember right. Mystery thriller. We're getting into October. We're getting into fall. Like, I really love hunkering down with good thrillers in the fall. So we'll move that stack over because, you know, no self-control. Okay. And then next is The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera. This is a high fantasy, which usually is not my gig, but I heard Sam from Thoughts on Tomes rave about this, and it's about two female warriors who are in love. Two female warriors who are in love. So you get, you know, lesbian rep, you get LGBTQ rep, plus, you know, fantasy. Like, we'll see. Like, hopefully I like it. The print isn't that big. I mean, it's kind of a chunker. 525 pages, but it's got bigger print. She raves so much about it that hopefully it's one I can get into. Then I have The Finishing School by Joanna Goodman. This one was hauled by Maddie at the Book Pusher, and it just looked really interesting. It also takes place in the 60s, I believe. Oh no. Never mind. In the 90s. 30 years off. Good job. Good booktubing. So this takes place in the 90s in a finishing school. A girl commits suicide, or so they think, and then a mystery ensues, and I guess it goes from there. It just seemed kind of like I love dramas or mysteries or anything like that that take place in boarding schools. Like The Broken Girls by, what's her name? Simone St. James was a really good book. So that's literally what appealed to me. Next is Life After Life. Whoa. By Kate Atkinson. I didn't realize how big this was when I picked it up. I thought it was a lot smaller. This is 525 pages as well. So it's about a woman, starts in 1910, and is about a woman named Ursula who lives and dies multiple times over her lifetime. So, what, magical realism, kind of? I don't know. I needed to fill my cart, okay? Rude. My baby Thunder thinks it's appropriate to get in my way while I film. Like, he has no interest being in here until then. So Just Between Us is about a group of women who are all friends. I believe they live in the same neighborhood, and one of their friends is showing signs of abuse, spousal abuse. And if what I remember is correct, yeah, they live in suburbia, and they notice that one of them is being abused, and this is them trying to get her out of her abusive marriage. So this is like a hard-hitting, like psychological kind of contemporary. It just seemed kind of interesting. A lot of books that are written on spousal abuse or abuse in general, especially spousal abuse, it's usually romanticized. You don't see it as being, like hard-hitting. So I'm hoping this doesn't go that way. A couple of the other ones that I'd read that were more thrillers, it kind of almost blamed the victim more than anything else, and I hate that. I hate that in stories of abuse. So we'll see how this one turns out. And then I'm going to get a lot of hate shade for this. I've always wanted to read it. I know it's problematic as hell, but it's one that I've always just kind of been interested in, and it'll probably take me 20 million years to read, seeing as it is like 50 million pages long. Does it even have page number? Oh, okay. 627 pages long, and that is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I know this is problematic. I know there's stuff in it that's just not okay, and it was written a long time ago, but it takes place in Scotland, and I have Scottish roots, and I just always wanted to read it for myself. Like, I'm okay with reading stuff that's problematic if I can acknowledge that it's problematic. So there's that one. Then I have The Family Plot by Cherie Priest. This was also on Book Outlet, and one that looked kind of fun. It's a mystery thriller horror, I think. Takes place in Tennessee. There's a family estate to unload. So it's a salvage yard, and there's a huge estate that's unloaded, and for a check and a handshake, it's all theirs. So the dude's daughter oversees it, and in the house, they go to the house to go get all the stuff, and there's an overgrown cemetery that the girl is drawn to, and the mansion's condemned, but it's in really good shape, so it's like ghostly, scary. I don't know. I figured it'd be a good October read. Then I have Never Let You Go by Chevy Stevens. This got hype. I think it was last year it got some hype. I got it on Book Outlet. Woman gets away from her abuser. He then starts to stalk her. I mean, it just goes from there. Like, just one of your typical scary being tracked books. And then another big hyped book on BookTube that I've never really thought I wanted to read. It's really big. I had downloaded it onto my Kindle, and I just couldn't get into it because my Kindle warped the way it looked. Everybody else said do the audiobook, but I'm not into audiobooks, so I saw it on Book Outlet for cheap, and I decided to get it. And that is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I just read the first two books in the Nevernight series by Jay Kristoff, and I absolutely loved them. So I figured I'd give this a try. Having the actual physical copy, I think I'll be able to get through this. For those of you who do not know or have never heard of it, you've obviously been under a rock. But Illuminae is a young adult science fiction fantasy that takes place predominantly in space. There's a war that ensues, takes place in the future. Most of it takes place on ships. And the entire book is 100% mixed media. So it's all like stuff that's been redacted, emails, stuff like that. So it's big, but it should be a fast read. I'm hoping to read it soon because I loved the other two books by Jay Kristoff. And then yesterday I was at the store and I saw this, and I figured I've been in a really bad slump. So I was like, okay, this will be one of those cheesy, quick little reads that I can get through, and I've already read half of it, and that's A Simple Favor by Darcy Bell. This, yes, is just a normal, dinky paperback. Like, sometimes I do like to get one of these small little, like, trade paperbacks that are just, drugstore paperbacks. That's what I used to read when I was younger, so it's kind of nostalgic, and I can whip through them really fast, so I feel productive. This is one of those really fluff psychological thrillers, which it's weird to call a psychological thriller fluff, but it's one of those ones that is so incredibly fast-paced and insane. You don't have time to stop and think. There's no real character building or world building. It's just boom, 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 which is fun every once in a while. But it's about two moms. They are really good friends, and one disappears, and, it's like that whole thing. Like, it's kind of Gone Girl-ish vibes. But it's quick. I'm that far through it. I'm already halfway through it. I'm hoping to finish it by the end of the month. Then I picked up Rose Madder by Stephen King. I got this on Amazon. This is my favorite Stephen King book. I had already had a copy, but my mother-in-law visited a couple months ago, and she loves Stephen King, and she'd never read Rose Madder, and so I brought out the book, and I had her read the back. I'm like, you should read this book. It's amazing. And she took it with her back to Vegas, where she lives. So my copies disappeared, which is fine. It wasn't very expensive. It was $7 on Amazon. And I got this one, and me and Vicky from Chapter 32 are going to do a buddy read of this in November, because she's never read it, and I'm going to reread it. It is my favorite Stephen King. It is a story of a woman who is in a highly, highly abusive marriage with a cop. And she gets up the nerve to escape, and he stalks her and follows her, and then it gets a little supernatural, and it goes from there. It is one of my favorite books. His writing in this book is so amazing. So I can't wait to buddy read with that with her, so that I can get her thoughts on it. I know Vicky will like it. It's my favorite. It's totally different than a lot of his other stories. And then, because my last three, man, I whipped through these quick. My last three books, this month, which you'll see in my September wrap-up, I finished my buddy read with Vicky of Gone with the Wind, and because of that, I got really into a historical fiction, Civil War era mood. And so I was looking for things that were, you know, kind of set in that era that wasn't super dense in the historical fiction. So I went and visited my mom, and Gone with the Wind is one of her favorite movies, and we were getting ready to watch it, and she pulled out her DVD of North and South. And North and South was one of her favorite miniseries growing up, as, you know, when not growing up, I guess in the 80s when I was growing up. And I remember watching bits and pieces, and she made a mention to me that they were actually a book series. I'm like, no way. So of course I had to get the book series. It is a trilogy, actually, by John Jakes. There's North and South, Love and War, and Heaven and Hell. Now these books are chunky. They are huge. Gone with the Wind was 1,037 pages. North and South, I mean, look at that writing. That is the tiniest writing in the entire world. Like, what did I get myself into? The first book is 1,500,000, no, 807 pages. Love and War, which is book 2, I believe is over 1,000. Oh, yes. It is 1,078 pages, which is more than Gone with the Wind, which was 137, or 1,037. And then Heaven and Hell is another 773. So these will be when I get, you know, the time where I can dedicate. I might read these the same way I read Gone with the Wind, where I did it over months, so I just would read a chapter or two a day so I didn't overwhelm myself. But anyways, yeah, that is my September book haul. Obviously, I have a book buying problem because, you know, I've only started reading one of these, and none of these I've read before, except for one. So, I seriously have a problem. But there's so many good readathons coming up, like, I figured I need to stock up because, you know, I don't already have 100 books unread on my shelves and on my Kindle. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!